Hey guys, Anthony Jones here with Brigade Boats, and in this video I'm going to give you an in-depth walkthrough of a recently completed customer project. This is a 1997 Basstracker Pro 17. Came to me from the state of North Carolina, did a complete restoration, crammed some modern technology, a lot of updates, gave it a little bit of style and flair, and in this video I'm going to show you everything I did to it, so stick around. Alright guys, this is the newest Brigade Boats complete build. This is a complete restoration. 1997 Pro Team 17 Basstracker. Made its way down from North Carolina. 6 hours for me to do a complete interior restoration. Let's take a look at it. When the customer dropped this boat off, he had already gutted it and stripped everything down to bare aluminum. So he brought me the boat in pieces and parts. And it was my job to add a lot of upgrades, make some modifications, and then put everything back together and get it looking the way it looks now. So let's take a walk through, and we'll start with some of the obvious stuff, and then we'll work through the finer details. One of the first things you'll probably notice is how clean the interior is. This is all brand new 20-ounce bass boat carpet. It's just a gray color. Of course, all of the factory hinges have been sanded and cleaned up to give them back their factory luster. And throughout the boat, we went with brand spanking new finger pulls. Also went with brand new locking latches on this storage compartment and the rod locker. And of course, this front deck is brand new factory replacement sized 1/2 inch exterior grade plywood, as well as the floor system. Now I did coat the floor and the front deck wooden parts in fiberglass resin, very, very thick coat to give them some water resistance over time. And that 20-ounce bass boat carpet continues throughout the build and inside some of the hatches. Carpet inside the rod locker as well. And guys, when I do these boats, my approach is to give the customer a better than factory carpet job. I take a lot of pride in the work that I do as far as getting all these edges very nice inside the lids, and then having some nice laps and nice straight cuts, and of course consistent reveals. And in the back, these are just small storage compartments that just drop in. And of course you'll see I carpet the inside lip as well. Continue that carpet into the hatch, and again, these are just factory storage bins. Then this larger middle hatch is a factory dry stow. You'll see this plastic bin with a lip around it, kind of prevents water from getting in. Just did a nice carpet job inside all the panels and lips. And on the larger lids in this boat, I did add struts. So see, this has a gas strut. And of course, again, the locking latch. And then there's your LED light. I did add LEDs in all of the hatches. Back hatch by the outboard. Again, went with a strut. Now on a lot of these factory lids, because of the geometry, if you mount the strut directly to the lid, when you close it, it will bind. So I fab out these little offset strut brackets to make this strut operational, just to offset this down into the lid. Something I have to do, which is probably why Basstracker doesn't offer struts from the factory. And then back here is obviously the factory gas tank, batteries, onboard charger, but let's dig a little bit deeper. I changed the battery configuration as far as what it came in with and what it's leaving with. It came in with a Group 24 and a Group 27. It's leaving with the Group 27 still, but we added a Group 31. Reason we did that is we added a lot of juice, guys, a lot of electronics, and of course those weren't things that were initially in the boat, and so we just wanted to upgrade the batteries. So put the 27 on the trolling motor, and then we've got that new Group 31 running all the onboard electronics, and then it's running the outboard. And both of those batteries are hooked up to a Pro Mariner onboard charger, which is a 15 amp. Both of these batteries are sitting in brand new battery trays with straps tying them down. Of course, the trays are screwed into the factory tray in the bottom, so they're not going anywhere. And then of course, I changed the factory layout to not only make room for the onboard charger that we added, but also to free up some room for some LIVEWELL upgrades that you can barely see. This particular Basstracker only had a live well fill. It had no recirculation. So I used the original hole for the live well fill, added a new spray nozzle, and then back here, up under there, you can barely see it, is a brand new 800 gallon per hour live well pump. It's fitted through the transom with a new stainless steel mesh screen. And that pump pumps water through a FlowRite hose that's mounted down to the tray. Of course, it goes between the batteries. I did have to cut out all of this sheet metal in the back of this storage area to access that factory live well tub, to add all this plumbing. Again, top left is going to be the new spray head that comes from the live well fill pump and the transom. The bottom is your Atwood recirculation pump, and then that feeds in to a FlowRite pump out aerator combo. It's got the quick locks on, so it's hooked up to a variable live well timer for different modes. And then if you pull the inside of that aerator head, it will actually close the valve in the front, open up the rear, and then pump the water out the side of the boat. So this will be recirculation mode. And then if you pull this plug out, that closes the valve, and now it's taking the water through that pump, and it's actually going to feed it through the hose under here to this through hole and out the side of the boat. And I really enjoy doing these live well upgrades on these old Basstrackers to bring them up to date so you could get better performance out of them when you're out on the water, especially when you're tournament fishing. But some of these, man, with the stock foam and the battery locations in the back with the gas tank, it's just a puzzle to get everything fitted in nice and tight and make room for everything to operate properly. And then in this back hatch, way up under there in the corners, are two LED lights. And this boat came with a factory seat pedestal there, and there's another pedestal base here. Just retained them, new hardware, carpeted over them, made them look real clean. Moving on, we got two brand new bass boat seats. These are super comfy. They're made by Deckmate. And then on the jump seat area, this lifts up. We actually strutted this hatch as well with the offset strut bracket. And then in here you got your pole lights for your nav and your rear on some clips. Of course, everything's carpeted inside. LED light. And then in between the new Deckmate seats are one of Nate's center consoles available on tinyboatnation.net. This thing's powder coated black, got two stainless cup holders. It's got a turfed top. It's hinged. Again, powder coated inside and out, giving my customer some spare fuses for his electronics. Turf inside, super, super clean. And then how I've got this strut set just inside 90 degrees so this lid stays closed. There's different variations of this console. There's actually ones with latches and locks if you want, but we went with the more basic setup for this boat. I also added two brand new TH Marine floor drains, and then underneath the bench you'll see an LED light there and an LED light there. Those are going to be wired as cockpit lights along with this third light here on the side of the console. This area in front of the console is one of the more unique things that I did with this project. So typically from the factory, this is just dead space. There's nothing here. This deck actually goes straight over in line with this hatch, and then it drops down vertically. But when we did this restoration, I framed all of this in, cut a new panel, and then actually added a built-in storage area that just fits this space perfectly. And then this built-in unit comes equipped with 3 Plano tackle trays. So it turns that awkward open area in front of the console into a useful space for some tackle storage. So I just think that really turned out well. On this console, I added a dual USB port to charge phones that replaces the factory 12 volt. Got a custom cut switch panel. It's got the Brigade logo, all new switches that are actually individually labeled. You got your variable live well timer. And below this switch panel is the underside of the console. And down here is where all the wiring for all the new accessories and everything in the boat feeds. Got a battery kill switch, flush mounted under there, hidden away. Every accessory in the boat feeds through that kill switch, so when it's turned off, nothing has power, nothing can draw power. And I've actually got 2 fuse boxes in this boat. This is the primary fuse box. It's got all the accessories in the boat, and it's got the graph on the console. Now this has got all your positive leads coming in that are fused. It's got all your negative leads on the bottom side. One of the unique things I did was I cut this panel. Typically this is just carpeted, and the factory fuse box was a small fuse box, and it only had a few accessories, and it was just shoved up under the console. But what I did here was cut this panel to where he could pull this off and remove it and actually access behind this and get to the factory wiring harness if he needs, or get to any of this wiring. So just thinking long term on the wiring job. And of course on the wiring job, this thing honestly was my biggest wiring job to date. I had to add a lot of stuff and trace all the factory leads and check everything. 25 years worth of wiring and bad switches and connections and splices, and get everything back in working order. And not only do that, but tab in all of my new accessories. But finally we got it working and everything turned out great. Now with this console, this is the factory console. We did not replace it. I pulled it from the boat, I sanded it, cleaned it real well, and actually we just sprayed it this gray to kind of match the carpet. It turned out really nice. I added a touch of GATORSKINZ over the original factory mount location, added a ram mount, Hummingbird, Helix 5 with lake maps, got a new stainless cup holder to match the cup holders in the center console. And then again, that switch panel rounds out everything on the console. We've got the factory tray. Behind this tray is a secondary fuse box with dedicated wiring from the back battery. So I've actually got heavy duty leads coming in to the underside of the console to this fuse box location, and I've got 2 more leads feeding directly from the battery up front to a fuse box behind this panel. And the reason I do that is just in case my customer ever wants to stack multiple graphs or add maybe some lights or some accessories up front, or just needs another fuse box location to tab in any future accessories, as opposed to having to try to route new graph wiring through the deck and all the stuff that we added and get it to that fuse box location. All he's got to do is pull this tray, and right behind this is a secondary fuse box. A little custom bracket I did that feeds the wiring through. You've got the ram mount holding a Helix 9. This has got lake maps. Now to mount this ram mount on this factory tray, I actually backed this whole portion of this factory tray with 090 to beef it up, and that actually really supports this unit really well. My customer had this 3D printed as a factory replacement part for his trolling motor plug, and then his tilt for his outboard. Up front, I pulled the trolling motor and stripped all, or at least what was left of the factory anti-skid, cleaned everything up, and then replaced everything with brand new GATORSKINZ, skinned the whole bow. If you've never seen this stuff, it's an anti-skid. It is rubber material. It's great traction, guys. Even when it's wet, it's got 3M backing, and once it sticks, it is down. It's an awesome product. After the bow was skinned, I mounted the Minn Kota power drive back up front. He wanted to retain this unit that came on the boat. He may upgrade at a later date, but what we did do was the Helix 9 came with the transducer. We did not use it. We upgraded the transducer to the big side imaging transducer. And this mega side imaging transducer is mounted in a unique way, because the power drive, the shaft needs to feed through. You can't mount the transducer cable to it. So what I did was, it runs around, it's tied in here, it goes under here through this. I added a longer bolt to hold this hose clamp, and this feeds freely. And then up here, it actually feeds through a tension spring to prevent it from ripping or tearing out when that shaft spins. Mounted in there, and then it feeds down through the coil, and then goes under the deck, through this hole, and then up and through to the unit. Clean, functional, just a unique way, I guess, to address that problem with the power drive. And then out back, added some GATORSKINZ on the back corners of the boat. And then of course you see that new rear pole light mount there as well. And then we've got deck lights. Here is one, there is one, and then up front, got one there and one over there. And what you'll notice is all the wires are hidden. They actually feed in and through the gunnels all the way up front on both sides, 4 to 2 to 1, and then feed in under here, back around to the fuse box, and then to your own switch for the deck lights. And the very last thing that I did with this boat was address the outside appearance. Actually had a lot of stains on it, had a water line on it, you know, 20 plus years of funk and oxidation. So I took some aluminum cleaner and sprayed and scrubbed and rinsed and sprayed and scrubbed and rinsed and just repeated the process and got this factory aluminum cleaned up as best as I could. It looks night and day difference from what it came in looking like. Really just a clean boat overall, guys. And in case I didn't say it, it does have Mercury 75 on the back. I think it turned out really, really clean. Let me know what you guys think. Leave a comment down below and let me know what you think of the project. If you have any questions on this project, if there's something I forgot to cover in this build, leave them down below. Always try to respond. I really enjoy these projects, taking the old school Basstracker, giving it some modern day technology and bringing it up to date with some style and some flair. I just really enjoy that. And I think this one turned out really nice, man. This thing is a weapon. And I hope that my customer gets plenty of use out of this boat in the state of North Carolina. But I think that's it for this video, guys. And this project's gonna head down the road. I got some upcoming builds I'm super excited about for the year 2022. So stick around to the channel, subscribe if you haven't. Much more to come, guys. Just getting this party started. We'll catch you on the next one.